I don't wish jail on nobody, but you gotta admit, there's been times when you heard someone say free my dog, and you were kind of thinking in the back of your head, should we really let that dude back into society? We gotta start doing more research, man. Some of these people they be trying to free need to be on a terrorist watch list. You know who they are. And this is something we often see in the rap world. People saying free Lil Durk when bro out here allegedly calling hits across the country. We got Ye yelling free R. Kelly and trying to get his oldest daughter North on a track with Diddy. And one of the most sinister crash outs of all time, the current voice of a generation, Playboi Carti, and other Homixide gang affiliates. They want to free a real super gremlin, a real life Atlanta demon spawn, Problemchild5, aka Mikael Gunn. Problemchild5 was once a promising rapper with $1 million record deal, but is currently locked up for allegedly doing 5 murders within 1 year, leaving all the evidence in his own car.
Of Chad Billingsley
was a fixture out there in the neighborhood, also a father to several children.
Caught on camera.
Not only is bro known for being the Charles Manson of East Atlanta, but he's one of the main reasons why Carti and Homixide gang are currently at war with another infamous set of East Atlanta, the 5L henchmen. Even with these crazy genocidal charges, it hasn't stopped some of the biggest rappers in the world yelling free him like he's some kind of political refugee, bro. Like, what is even going on? Crazy thing is, this wasn't just a mindless shooter. This dude had potential to be one of the biggest Atlanta rappers of all time because he was once signed by Future and even had successful songs with not only Pluto but Young Thug. Imagine being at the crossroads between the streets. Somehow, someway, bro said, fuck a successful rap career, I'ma just crash out instead. It's something you can only see in the crazy gang wars of Atlanta's blood sets. So today, we gotta talk about the Atlanta demon spawn himself, Problemchild5, because his life has influenced music that the whole world is listening to today. From Playboi Carti and his affiliation with one of Atlanta's most notorious gangs. And it might just be the reason why Carti might get hit with the RICO too. We're gonna get into it right now, but before we do, I'm gonna need you to like, comment, subscribe. Gang, I got a fire announcement. We just dropped new merch right now on StaySafeWorld.com. Check out these tees. These fire new designs. Gonna be dropping all types of new stuff every single month. But I'm gonna need my Stay Safe gang to tap in because we finally got that fire merch. But we're gonna get into this right now with Chapter 1, War in Zone 6. Ever since the pandemic, it seems like the gang-related murders that's been going on in Atlanta are getting out of control. 2020 marked one of the most dangerous years on record within the city of Atlanta, with over 157 murders. One of those deaths was a fallen member of an East Atlanta gang called Homixide DTE, and his death would spark inspiration in one of Atlanta's biggest rappers, Playboi Carti, to depart from his pretty boy persona and go headfirst into repping the gang life.
You know, I lost my brother recently. His name was Sosa, and I really loved him so much. And y'all just, you know what I'm saying, we could talk about this another day. I just gotta understand, like, I mean, you know what I'm saying, I got 2 different lives. And when I'm not being king, pimp, and all this other shit, I'm in the streets for real.
With his critically acclaimed album Whole Lotta Red, and later with I Am Music. While 2020 was a cultural shift, 2019 seems to have been a dramatic and violent prelude that caused everything to go to shit in the pandemic. 2019 was marked with all signs pointing to a homicidal serial killer lurking throughout the city in a tinted green Jaguar, taking out different men on different nights.
Released photos of 3 vehicles spotted near the scene of a double murder last night. Now, 2 men were shot and killed behind the Taco Bell on Ponce.
Our other top story tonight, a heartbroken plea for the person who murdered her fiance to do the right thing. Someone gunned down the young father at a gas station last night. Good evening, I'm Russ Spencer.
And I'm Marissa Mitchell. It happened at the Citgo station on Moreland Avenue. And tonight his family is begging for answers as officers try to find the shooter.
Well, Fox 5's Angelique Proctor joins us now live from DeKalb County. And Angelique, you spoke to the victim's family today.
That's right, Russ, and I can tell you their hearts are broken. Many of them say they just have no idea who would want Javon Laxon dead.
The police believe that this killer was a well-known rapper with ties to Carti and Future by the name of Mikael Gunn, or Problemchild5 as he's known, and is currently being held in Fulton County Jail fighting for his freedom. It doesn't seem like bro is stressing too hard about it though. You know, an ATL reporter by the name of George Chitty leaked a video of him on IG Live, and bro seemed like he was in good spirits. Nah, on the real, real. Fannie Willis has pretty much made it her sworn mission to take out gang members within the area, and anyone rap related is going to be buried under the jail. A lot of times on this channel we've been talking about mass murders in the rap game. They might just be random side characters in a rapper's entourage. In the fewest of rarest occasions, you might find an evolved crash out that's actually a pretty good artist that happens to have rumors and hearsay about them catching hats, like, I don't know, Bloodhound Q50 or something like that. But this dude, this guy right here, Problemchild5, was a real artist connected to some of the biggest rap artists on this planet. How you go from being one of the first artists that young Pluto, Future Hendrix himself signed, and then somehow throwing your life away in a spree of on-camera killings, we gotta get into that right now. But in order to understand how an artist turns into a genocidal maniac, you gotta drive into East Atlanta's gang scene, an area called Edgewood, where gang alliances and disputes run deep. Problemchild5 from the nearby East Atlanta neighborhood of Kirkwood has strong ties within the city of Edgewood. Edgewood has a deep affiliation with a blood set called Sex Money Murder, or SMM. Growing up around this and jumping off the porch at a young age, began being tapped in with notable members of a SMM clip called Duckade Entertainment. Back in the early 2010s, DTE for short was extremely respected and making noise in the city, being closely affiliated with Free Band Gang, aka Future's group within the city, right as Future was becoming a household name. At the same time, DTE rapper Trouble, who was basically the face of DTE's operation, was making waves in the city and getting notoriety behind him. And the OG behind it all, a guy named Big Bang. Big Bang was a major figure within the city and has close ties to all the people involved, including Playboi Carti as one of Carti's main contacts with DTE. Problemchild5 says in an interview with Ugly Money's podcast that Big Bang was like a father figure to him and had been around him and his family since before he was born. It was this connection that got him tied in with Playboi Carti and Future. While the older generation was known as Duct Tape Entertainment, Problemchild5 formed his own clique with younger members and called it Homixide Gang, with other members like Sosa, Lil Unky, Bino, Michi, and all of them. Although Carti was originally from the Fairburn area, he had family ties that brought him over to the east side. It was cool with 4L, like 21 Savage, Nudie in them, and really close with Sosa. His ties to Homixide Gang have been a major controversy, with many saying that he's actually being extorted. Even members in the past like Lil Unky and Lil 1 DTE, who's by the way the son of Big Bang DTE, have been on live talking about how Carti is just capping about his image.
Yeah, Migo Blib been out. Migo Blib been out 2 months after he seen that boy. Shit up, man. Y'all need to tricked by a rapper.
That was all back in the day, and it seems like they're cool now. But it just gives food for thought. Like, does anyone really know that they're being extorted until you know that you're being extorted? Don't let that go over your head. Regardless, Problemchild5 is pretty tied in with Carti, being seen in videos back in the day during the Whole Lotta Red era and leading up to that. At the same time, in the same area of Atlanta, there was another gang with branches tied into SMM that were starting to make waves in the city called the Front Street Henchmen, or 5L. Members like Ola Runt, Benji Bluebells, and 24 Left Eye, who unfortunately got, kicked out, but that's a whole nother story, are the most recognizable artists from this group and currently are embroiled in a pretty crazy beef with members of Homixide Gang, which we'll get into later. But the craziest thing to me is both of these groups at one time were actually super cool. Problemchild5 being from around that area was seen in many videos with Ola Runt and other henchmen posted up for a long time at the Front Street. Everything would eventually change though, with a lowball record deal offer and longtime friends returning to rivals, which we'll get into in the next chapter 2. But make sure you tap in with that merch like I said. After serving a 5-year sentence, Ola Run would get out in 2018 and start building a buzz, releasing a track called Feels Like Guap. At the time, his song Feel Like Guap was getting traction and eventually got a Gucci Man feature on it. This started a bidding war, and apparently somewhere along those lines, Big Bang gave a lowball offer that apparently had Ola Run feeling some type of way. Run would later sign the cinematic music though, declining both Big Bang and Gucci Mane. Ola would apparently ask Big Bang for a feature, but Bang would decline and apparently attempt to blackball Ola Run. Two sides were drawn out in the sand, and everything went to shit when Ola Run would drop the song Mob Father, dissing Big Bang, pretty much putting the 5L henchman relationship into the toilet with Homixide DTE. Somewhere along those lines, Ola Run would diss Problemchild in the worst way possible. But we're going live and expose Problemchild5, forget this, having a good
And Problemchild, your daddy name Big O. Big O is a preacher. Y'all heard Big O is a preacher, man. Big O is a preacher and he's a chef. He cook food, no dope. Y'all heard me. My father cooked dope. You heard me? Your father cooked
Bro
food.
would air out his life saying his dad was a preacher who sold soul food. They say that Problemchild5 was not really on that. Problemchild would respond with his own diss track called PP Son. He was the first person to drop a song dissing the henchman in a similar way that Carti does now in I Am Music. He rapped, "Catch a henchman out there slipping, hit him with the 223. At the time, the beef was within the confines of social media. But then in June 2020, tragedy would strike in a major member in Homixide gang getting taken out and would affect the Atlanta rap scene and rap music in general forever, which we're going to get into in chapter 3, the death of Big Sosa. Problemchild5 was definitely not a saint. In fact, by June 2020, he would have already had those 5 bodies apparently already under his belt. But at the time, he was still in the streets actively in beefs that would endanger his life on the daily. One of those situations was the closest call he ever had when he was posted up with Big Sosa and an ambush came out of nowhere at a dice game. A shootout took place and Problem was able to get out, but his close homie and a major member of Homixide gang, Big Sosa, was unfortunately gunned down in the gunfire. On top of that, shortly after, Ola Runt and Booty Bandit 24 Left Eye would take shots at Big Sosa right after his death. However, 24 Left Eye would apparently get shot multiple times in retaliation, with Lil 1 DTE and Problemchild5 going on live, claiming that they were responsible for the hit. Although it was believed that Problemchild5 was returning fire and whoever was spinning on him at the time when Big Sosa was gunned down, henchman member Benji Bluebells released a diss track stating that Problemchild is really the one who backdoored Sosa. It didn't make matters any better. Then when Problemchild would be later apprehended, he was charged for the murder of Big Sosa. Obviously, other members of Homixide gang have been yelling free him, so it doesn't seem like he backdoored anyone, but a string of almost a half a dozen murders the previous year might directly explain why people were out to kill him, because nobody can kill 5 people in a year and get away with it, either by the law or by people who also were affected by those shootings. So we gotta get into the violent year of 2019 to backtrack the get back that took out Sosa in chapter 4, a secret spree of murder. In November 2020, things were starting to look up for Problemchild5. He finally dropped his debut project, King Op, after being signed to Future shortly before. His track Sticks Up with Future started getting major motion with millions of plays. It's safe to say bro was looking like he was about to get out of the hood and leave the street life behind. But then things just went all to complete shit. First, Homixide gang member R5 would commit suicide after taking a lace pill, depressed about the death of their fallen member Big Sosa. Then Problemchild5 would get locked up for a parole violation. Finally, the absolute worst case scenario happened. Even though Problemchild5 was ready to leave the streets and starting to being a professional rapper, the streets were not done with him, because while being locked up, Atlanta PD would charge Problemchild5 with 5 different murders at the same time. In the year 2019, police believe that Problemchild5 was responsible for 5% of the total murders that took place within the city of Atlanta. Just grasp that, man. Imagine someone being responsible for 5% of all the murders in a huge city. Out of 99 homicides that occurred, police currently have Problemchild5 locked up for 5 murders that occurred within the same year. The police believe that this dude was a straight nighttime lurker at gas stations and fast food establishments, taking out old heads one at a time. The first was a man named Chad Billingsley, who was gunned down in a Rolling 60s neighborhood gas station by a mass shooter in a Jaguar SUV, all caught in 4K.
Boulevard. We're standing inside of a Rolling 60 Crip gang stronghold.
It was the scene of the 2019 gang-related murder of Chad Billingsley.
He was a fixture out there in the neighborhood, also a father to several children.
Caught on camera.
Honestly, it's looking like bro is absolutely deep fried because of the crazy amount of evidence that they have on this murder alone. Police believe Mikkel Gunn, aka Problemchild5, murdered Chad Billingsley at the food mart at the corner of Boulevard and North Avenue in October 2019, opening up on him with a rifle, later recovered in the back seat of a green Jaguar SUV. A trail of electronic and physical evidence connects him to the crime, according to court documents. Police have a video of the shooting and cell phone towers put his phone in the car at the scene. The 2 rifles taken from the car linked by ballistics to 4 other shootings. Bruh straight up left the guns he allegedly used in the multiple other shootings in the car. One of those shootings was a double murder of Steve Sannon, 43, and Denoris Clark, 37, on April 7, 2019.
Northeast Atlanta, that's where 2 men were killed in an overnight shooting.
Yeah, that shooting happened on Parkway Drive late Sunday night. Police say the gunman fired from a black SUV. And Good Day's Mark Teigner has the latest on this investigation. He joins us live this morning from Atlanta Police Headquarters. Mark, good morning.
Well, good morning to both of you. And because this particular crime actually took place in the back of a fast food parking lot, police are hoping that surveillance video will help identify the gunman.
They found 2 males who were shot.
The gunfire rang out late Sunday night here on Parkway Drive, just behind the Taco Bell on northeast Atlanta's Ponce de Leon.
In the front of Taco Bell at the corner of Ponce de Leon Avenue, Parkway Drive, just up the street from Ponce City Market. On the night of the 7th, the 2 men were in the back of a Taco Bell very close to the popular Ponce City Market when they were ambushed by allegedly 3 SUVs. In a wild, out in the open shooting, both men were gunned down in a brazen double murder in a nice part of the city that left many community members rethinking their neighborhood. Finally, in DeKalb County, another 39-year-old man named Jovan Lodson was posted up at a Citgo on Moreland near I-285 when he was also ambushed and killed as well.
But we begin with Good Day's Mark Teichner, who is covering a deadly shooting that took place in DeKalb County. Mark, what can you tell us?
That's right. We're at the Citgo gas station on Moreland Avenue, right near the I-285 entrance ramp, and that's where a man has been shot dead.
One thing is, whoever did all these shootings had multiple things in common. All were killings of old heads, all of them were nighttime parking lots, all of them with rifles, and finally, all of them were done extremely sloppily. And it seems that Problemchild5 was most likely a hired hitman paid to take out people who could have been doing this. So imagine, this dude could have been Future Shooter, this dude could have been Big Bang Shooter, this dude could have been Carti Shooter, this dude is just a straight up shooter that happened to have a record deal. But a lot of the people that be named shooters don't actually, be shooters. They be associated with them, calling the hits. This dude was the one actually out here, and he actually had a real life and was able to get out of the streets, but the streets caught up to him when he was caught with multiple rifles that have bodies on them. But hey, let me know in the comments what y'all think about this situation. New merch, link in the description at StaySafeWorld.com.